What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Today we are back for another video for My Hero Academia. I apologize for my brief hiatus. I was actually in Miami celebrating my 24th birthday, hence why there was no video for a week. But we are back in Houston and we are ready to cover chapter 347 of My Hero Academia. The last chapter of My Hero, my god, it was absolutely incredible, and I read it on the plane ride over actually, and I can't wait to discuss these leaks. So, without further ado, let's hop right into the chapter spoilers. So the chapter begins with the heroes asking Monoma if something went wrong with Erasure because of the hands that started coming out of Shigaraki. But he says no, Shigaraki is still unable to use quirks, and Tomura himself explains that this is just a growth of his body. Just as people's hair and fingernails grow, his flesh is expanding. This is because of the effect of the evolution of their quirks in his body, and is the end result of the singularity point theory researched by Dr. Garaki. This is actually pretty disgusting that Shigaraki is able to grow these extra body parts and these fingers extending out of his own body, but at the same time, with him holding so many quirks simultaneously, it does make sense that there would of course be some negative side effects to this. Tomura says that this is the future that awaits superhuman society, and that the heroes don't understand the real implications of all of this. Mirko's mechanical arm and leg have now been destroyed, but she shouts, "Spares," and a compartment comes out of the ground, giving her replacement limbs to equip. She tells Bakugo not to rush into anything, and the two start arguing because he says he wants to be called the Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite, and I love the interjection of the comedy of Bakugo's hero name during these moments within the chapter. We haven't heard him say it for quite a while, and I'm glad to see that. But Genis interrupts these fools and asks them to focus. Monoma assures Aizawa that he hasn't failed and continues to erase Shigaraki. Aizawa knows it, but he's still worried. We see that Mandalay is also there, and she says that Midoriya has contacted her through her telepathy quirk. He tells Aizawa that he has been pulled by Toga and is on Okoto Island, and just as he's about to ask Monoma to open up another portal, a scream is heard and the communication is cut off. Aizawa is then thinking about the limitations of Monoma's quirk. He can't copy and use two quirks simultaneously, so to open a portal he would have to turn off Erasure for at least 10 seconds before turning it back on. In that moment, if Shigaraki uses Decay, it would be all over. This is one of the setbacks of Monoma's quirk, despite him being the Phantom Thief, which very well may be the coolest hero name in the series thus far. For him to open up these portals, of course he's faced with the dilemma of allowing Shigaraki to roam free for roughly 10 seconds, but we do know that we have Bakugo and some of the others there, so ideally they'd be able to handle him, but at the same time, this entire plan to get Shigaraki by himself, Deku was an integral part of this, and without Deku being here, it's kind of hard to say whether they even be able to hold Shigaraki for 10 more seconds, but I personally have faith in our heroes and the plan they've devised thus far. Aizawa then contacts Midoriya again and asks him to get to UA on his own, since it won't be possible to open any more portals. Meanwhile, they will try to defeat Shigaraki even without the help of One For All, and we see a panel showing the 6 heroes who are in battle with a determined expression. Thank God Deku has really good control over mobility and being able to reach different destinations pretty fast. If he was someone else, God knows how long he would take to get there, but ideally Deku will be coming in very soon. The scene then cuts to Okoto Island, which is about 200 kilometers off the coast of the Pacific Ocean. The Okoto Aquarium is the main tourist attraction there and is well known both in Japan and abroad. Gang Orca is the director of the aquarium, and that is where the battle is taking place. I never considered Gang Orca had a little bit of a side hobby, and in fact he's the director of an aquarium. So, props to you, Gang Orca, for being able to have a lot of work-life balance. We then see him shouting for others to dodge, and then a large-scale attack comes from Nomu. The upper part of his body is floating in the air while the others are spread out around him and stretching towards the ground, generating huge waves of water. Also, there is Moonfish, the toothed villain who was defeated by Tokayame during the forest training camp. He is dressed differently and is giving the heroes a hard time. Sirius asks Sue if she is okay, and she confirms, but says that Deku and Uraraka were separated from the rest of the group after the last blow. Uraraka asks what Aizawa answered, and Deku says that he will have to go back to UA on his own. Ochako is about to tell him to hurry, but Toga appears and tries to cut him off. She asks him not to leave because she loves him, and Deku can't understand why the danger sense didn't activate even when a knife was coming his way. He remembers the condition of the activation and the fact that the danger has to be assimilated as a real danger. He asks Toga what she wants from him, and she replies that she would like him to become her boyfriend. Deku then finally understands that she hurts other people out of a pure sense of admiration and love, so the danger sense does not pick up on it as a dangerous intent. So now the love triangle is finally present: Deku, Uraraka, and Toga. Obviously, we saw this coming. There has been a lot of build-up for the fact that Toga does in fact love Deku, but I use the term love loosely because clearly her perception, her understanding of love isn't love in the same way that you and I would understand love, clearly due to her damaged upbringing and the lack of empathy within her life. Her version of love is more so obsession, but at the same time, those who she obsesses about, those who she admires and loves, she hurts those people, but that's a weird gimmick within the quirk of Deku. There has to be intent to harm, but Toga, all of her intent right now is out of love, which is very weird, and that's why Deku wasn't able to pick up on that. But I'm curious if this right now is the turning point for Uraraka and Deku to finally break through to Toga and let her know that when you love something, when you love someone, you don't try to kill these things. And at the same time, Deku also has to deny the request of Toga, saying that she wants Deku to be her boyfriend. I'm not sure how Uraraka is going to react to this. I'm sure she's a little bit upset, maybe a little bit jealous, but at the same time, she has to understand the mental state that Toga is in, and that she's not at all someone that Deku is, and she's not at all someone who's in the right headspace for such things. I don't necessarily think some fight is going to break out here. I think more dialogue is needed for Deku and Uraraka to speak to Toga, but at the same time, there is a lot of time constrictions at hand right now. A ton of our heroes right now are facing off versus Shigaraki, but they're missing their ace in the hole within Deku. So hopefully Horikoshi is able to realistically put these time constraints on Deku and make it very apparent, yeah, we need to get through this whole Toga situation fast, and I hope Deku can leave, in that Toga and Uraraka can continue this conversation after Deku's gone, because our boy needs to get the hell out of there and go to UA so we can see Bakugo and Deku team up, which is something I have been waiting for since 2 movies ago when we saw it on the big screens. Guys, this chapter is again a fast-paced chapter with things moving fast. Horikoshi right now is no slouch on the pen and paper, and we are getting closer and closer to this final battle awaited. But before we get there, we obviously have Todoroki to face off versus none other than his brother, and then Endeavor, Hawks, and the rest of those guys to face off versus All For One. I'm not really sure how the outcome of these fights are going to be, because these ones are fights versus some of the individuals with the highest damage output of anyone in the series outside of Shigaraki. So guys, if you liked this video and you like my covering of the My Hero Academia leaks from today, please don't forget to drop a subscription if you haven't already, because believe it or not, the majority of y'all are not subscribed. I hope you're all having a great Thursday and that you'll love this chapter as much as I did. And as always, remember, be greedier.